Hey friends. I I've been reflecting on, well, I guess it's kind of a number of things, but there's something that's been coming through recently that I'll kind of summarize it and then maybe hopefully be able to unpack a little bit how it's manifesting and what's coming up for me. But basically, I've had a sense in several different domains recently, from my teaching to my work with my daughter to my communication in my relationships to my professional work and dialogue among colleagues. I've had this sense that standing up or being direct, transparent, being a little more I can't come up with the right phrase. It's not in your face. It's more of like a willingness to be direct and to have conviction in what I'm saying, even when I know I might be wrong. Right? I feel like this is one of the greatest learnings, one of the greatest tricks we can learn, to be both intensely self-critical in a way, while at the same time being fully invested in and fully behind our own convictions, having total willingness to articulate, to express, and even to defend our opinions, our position, our perspective, and where we're coming to a conversation from. And I've talked about this before in some of my previous posts, but like that willingness, the ability to be both really just uncompromising and transparent and fully real, not pull any punches in a way, and at the same time continuously on the lookout for ways in which we might be wrong, and for feedback that might be telling us that something is wrong. That combination of like total confidence and total humility just feels like it's a really powerful combo. And again, I say that this has been coming up for me, or sort of manifesting, not necessarily manifesting through me, but sometimes manifesting through me, and other times just arriving as a kind of set of insights that it feels really, really real to me, really important. And I've had a sense that I'm doing it better than I have in the past. That I'm trusting that. I'm trusting my ability to do that. And because the reason why it's hard is that we have to both 100% trust what we think and what we are expressing and the way we're expressing it, and at the very same time be ready to not trust it, be ready to question it. it's almost, I mean, it feels obviously, as I it's evident from my explanation that there's a contradiction there, but it's not a contradiction that that undoes either of those two things. It's not a contradiction that can be resolved by sort of like diluting each of them until they sort of arrive at a compromise between the two. That's not how it works, or at least that's not what I'm talking about. It's not an effective way. It's not the way I'm talking about that I think is much more empowering and ultimately also much more effective, and in a lot of ways much more generous. There's something about owning who we are and what we think and what we believe, and being willing to express that uncompromisingly, that is actually a form of generosity. We're allowing ourself we're allowing ourselves to give ourselves. And for people like me, I know that as I speak about this, it's kind of ringing a bell from a post that I did, I don't know, 3 weeks ago maybe, where I was talking about something similar, and I was speaking about how this is it's a tricky balance, and it's something that can feel like we especially on the sort of like courage of our convictions, confidence in our convictions side of the coin, it can feel as though we're putting on blinders and actually sort of like we're giving ourselves permission in a kind of not so great sense to just really kind of bulldoze people with our beliefs, or with what we think. And that's not what I'm talking about. And that's not the thing. That's something else. That's having confidence maybe in of our convictions, but that cuts out the sensitivity piece, and it cuts out the constant questioning piece. And for those of us who are in many ways steeped in that sort of constant self-evaluation, self-critical gaze, I think there's a whole generation or two of folks for whom that's just the way it's the way we've been brought up to think, or it's just the way that a culture, as it evolves, our culture is evolving. As our culture evolves, there's an increasing capacity for self-reflection, an increasing self-awareness as a culture. And so that gaze, that observation of ourselves, that capacity for self-awareness is constantly increasing. And that's a good thing. But we got to find a way to not allow it to undermine or even dilute our ability to assert and to project and to invest and believe in our own statement, perspective, how we see things. There's got to be the ability to come back to that as well and offer that, because that's ultimately, that's actually, in a weird way, that's how we will, that will lead to more change. If we hold back and don't quite really fully assert what we believe, or we kind of like take the edge off of how we think about something or express something. It's, again, I'm not advocating for like being reckless or inconsiderate or insensitive in how we express, but if we dilute our own willingness to fully come out, fully kind of give what we have, then we don't get a reflection on it. We get a reflection on our watered down, kind of half expressed thing, and then we don't evolve. Then the actual thing that we have to offer doesn't ever really get seen or get honest, transparent feedback, or B, ever really get a chance to be tested and thereby changed, thereby evolved. So again, I'm kind of feel like I'm kind of rambling, but and I don't mean to, but there's something in this for me. Again, it's showed up in all these different domains of my life, with my child, with my wife, with my work colleagues, with my teaching, my there's just all these ways in which I'm kind of getting this, and I do feel like I'm stepping into a greater ability to kind of hold this polarity, or because it's really about holding a polarity. It's about not trying to take a polarity and collapse it so that it becomes one thing. Unite the polarity. There's no uniting a polarity. Polarity is a polarity, right? There's no uniting men and women, other than in the sense of like we can be united as a as a as people, but there's no, by being connected to one another and interpenetrating one another, interacting with one another, men and women don't become one thing. They remain a polarity. Polarities remain what they are. So what we're really looking at is occupying the full, as much of the spectrum of a given polarity as we can, appreciating as wide of a spectrum within a given polarity as we can. And that's what makes it a challenge. That's what makes it a thing that it never really ends. I don't think our ability to kind of expand that for ourselves. I think that's something that's ongoing, and I'm picking up on this one particular way in which, talking about the expression of ideas versus and up alongside the evolution of ideas, the changing of ideas, right? Like the receiving feedback, sensitivity to, and willingness to modify what we believe, what we think, up against or up next to our willingness to fully embrace what we think and fully express what we think, and do those two things at the same time. For whatever reason, that is on my radar right now as a capacity in myself that I'm trying to become more conscious of, and trying to improve my ability to, my skill at, my awareness, my poise, the breadth of how I work with that. And it's certainly showing up as significant. I sense that I'm making progress because of a handful of experiences recently. And so I'm saying it out loud to kind of clock it, offer it, and hopefully capture it a little bit for myself, and maybe develop a deeper awareness of how I do it well, when I do it well, and what doesn't work so well. So that's where I'm at today, folks. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you. I'd love to hear if this is an experience you have, how it plays in your life. Love to know. Thanks very much. Appreciate you. Have a great day. See you soon.